So that's where you have to kind of work as a unit to figure out, cash option, camp option. And I would just tell you, being that most of the folks in here have no experience with this sale model, I think there may be one or two units in all of our units that participated last year that went with the cash option. When you do the math on it, the scout's getting twice the return to him directly if you go to the camp option. So a lot of them just went that route. And in your situation, some of them did end up bringing two scouts together to work together to get one campership, and then they just figured it out inside of the unit. And that's okay too.
Go ahead, Dana. I'll ask mine in a minute.
Because most of our boys have already paid for part of their camp, and so they were assuming that this selling partial of it was going to help them go the rest of the way. So that wasn't going to work. So they'd have to then combine and then adjust.
Yep. So the only time that question is going to get us into trouble here is if you've made full camp payments as of today. Is anyone 100% camp
No,
paid?
but see, in our council, they have camp bucks that they earned in the popcorn sale. That's really the only place they can use them. So they have camp bucks they're sitting on that's going to be applied to their
camp fee.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Mark and I and Nick can talk offline and figure out how to make sure that that's a win. That's a switching
our
buckets.
unit is already paid for some of the.
I guess if somebody's already got camp bucks, can they sell just what they need?
Yeah, ours
to get
isn't
to
into
that?
camp bucks.
He's just saying just straight payment.
Okay.
Partial payments.
We can speak with Nick and Mark. I'm sure we can.
Around,
we can allocate some of those dollars away from the scout who had paid it and back to another scout or something. I'm sure we can work that through.
My son has some camp bucks, and he was going to use them probably towards summer camp.
So he wouldn't need to sell 22 boxes because he's already got some of it earned from the popcorn sale in the fall. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
we'll
earned
talk
enough
about that.
profit from that, and he's got camp bucks that he could apply to it too.
Yep, we'll work through that and figure out. We want to make sure all the scouts are protected for all the camp bucks they've earned and for all the payments that are made. We're going to make sure that remains with the unit. That's not going to go anywhere. We'll get that figured.
That brings another question. If we check to use it for the camp, and then none of our boys make the 22 boxes, can we change your mind and go for the cash option at a different time?
We like not to switch once we're into it. Of course, we're going to work with the unit and make sure the best thing that's possible. If you think there's any chance that the scout isn't going to sell the boxes or is going to have trouble with those, I'm going to recommend that you play the safe route and just get out there as soon as possible with the take order form and get the take orders up front. If you think there's going to be if that's going to be a situation for your unit, start with the take orders, and you have all the way till April basically.
Yeah, don't get that popcorn ahead.
Yeah. So in that model, you'd hand these out in the next week or two and say, all right, go crazy. Each scout go until you sell 22 boxes or whatever their goal is. If it's a Webelos, it's 10. If it's Cub, it's 5. And then towards your order date in April, you collect them all back and say, all right, everybody's got their 22. Or you say, okay, you only have 10, you got 6, and that's when you start combining them to make sure you order exactly what's needed, and that way there's no shortage, there's no extra. You're ordering exactly what you need, you're maximizing your profit, and it's going right back to the scouts. If you see that as a situation, that's probably what I just steer you towards thinking about, is to play the safe option and take orders, and that way you're just ordering exactly what you know is sold.
My question, maybe I should have asked you offline, not to stir the pot on this, but is there a reason? I'm looking at my pack, and I was kind of hoping in Kingsley, because the kids, the families do need the help. I was hoping to have them sell the 5 to do the camp option to go to Cub Camp. But then they also want to go down and sleep on the submarine in Muskegon, and I was hoping I could get them to sell another 5 each and take the cash. So I can't sign up twice.
I think we can work that out, Mark. I think that's a unique situation. What we don't want is half and halfsies. We don't want 3 boys earning their camp way and the other 3 boys say, oh, I just want the cash because I only want to sell 2. Probably not for a Cub Scout because that's kind of a small number of boxes, but like say a Boy Scout troop, say, okay, these 3 scouts are going to sell the 22 and go to camp. These 4 boys over here, they're going to each just sell cash option, or whatever they sell. That gets them. That's just where we all as a team start having to really get out the calculators and do the math. If it's a Cub Scout pack like this and they're ordering in full round amounts, 5 at a time, that meets the spirit of what we're trying to do here, and I'm sure we can figure that out.
All right.
Yeah.
So I guess bottom line is we can work with a lot of you. You kind of see the plan, so. Go ahead.
I've got two questions. I've been approached, we got some scouts going to the 2012 Summer Shakedown. They want to know if they can participate.
Jacob?
That would be the same as
Yep.
like the Philmont trip.
It would, well,
The cost is different.
the cost is different though.
What's the shakedown fee here?
Well, they haven't said it yet,
Okay.
and I wanted to get your stuff, because I don't know.
So let me explain how we're working this form here. There's one here that says Philmont and one says Jamboree. It's basically the same form with the word change. So we're using that interchangeably, this document and this rate structure, for a $250 credit to any high adventure type activity.
So they gotta sell in 24.
If it is going into an account. We won't pay the cash back, but if it goes to an account like National Order of the Arrow Conference, Summit Shakedown, Jamboree, Philmont, Sea Base.
Like high adventure camp.
Exactly. As long as it's
So
a
the-
camp or a high adventure that we can
Well, it's-
transfer the money into that comes through
Your
the
cost's gonna
office.
be at least $250, so.
Okay,
yeah.
So that can be used towards the transportation costs, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. And our folks are already thinking NOAC, Philmont, Jamboree, those kind of opportunities. Even NYLT. We have an NYLT
Yeah.
course in the council coming
We
up
do
here
too.
Okay.
in August, and that's $250 basically. Wipes out the whole NYLT, or goes $250 towards your Jamboree, whatever it is. As long as it's an account that you pay for your scouts through the service centers, we can transfer it into that correct account. And just make sure, though, the biggest thing about that is on that campership form that you put the scout's name, 24 boxes, and exactly what account it's supposed to go to. Jamboree, Shakedown 2012, whatever it is, so that our folks can match that up correctly.
Yeah, one thing that hasn't been asked yet, it's matched to the boy on the camp option. So
Correct.
if a boy doesn't go to camp, it doesn't happen, right?
Yep, it is matched to the scout.
That money never comes to the unit. This is a lot different than the fall sale where you're trying to raise money for your unit. This is a boy sale. So, I mean, if the boy broke a leg or got sick the last minute, I'm sure we'd do something.
Absolutely.
But if he just decides I'm not going,
So if the boys decide to take the cash option, is it just like a fundraiser then that would go into the scout account, into the troop account?
Right.
yeah, you're just gonna pay 75%, you're keeping the
You
other
keep the 25% right in your pocket.
Higher troop would have to pick that option, not just the kid.
Right.
It's not the kid picking the option, it's the troop.
Right.
But you can't have one kid go to camp and the other kids pick the cash option. It's
Correct.
One or the other.
Yep, absolutely right. Yes, sir.
Mark, on our calendars here, March 2nd is the first camp payment paperwork due. How's that gonna play out, while this is going on here? I mean,
There's no problem. If if he's checked out popcorn already or he's taken orders, just let us know how he's doing as take order. We'll just, he's in the popcorn sale and Nickel Mart. He'll still get his payment due, so there's no problem with that. We can work with you on that.
Absolutely, especially if you've already committed in that first order. I think some scouts will see this and say, okay, I'll do it, put an order in for me, and you'll know that even before the 1st of March. It's the ones who are trying to sell that amount going into the end of March that you may have some question marks about.
I know in my pack, the camp option, I mean, the statistics show you get kids to go to camp, even to the one night, the Weeblos camp, they stay in longer. It fulfills the promise that we promise them, and once you get it in the family's hands, now there's some boys that have earned enough from the fall sale that they already can go to Cub Camp for nothing. We've got their accounts and Camp Bucks. And there's other kids that didn't sell or they're new if we just, the main thing is to get it in the parents' hands. Because if you don't get it in the parents' hands, it's not gonna do any good. Because 5 boxes and a dad or a mom and their boy for $50 can go to camp for free. That's all his meals, the whole overnight experience, and it's 5 boxes of popcorn. I mean, that's
Pretty turnkey.
yeah, it's nothing. So on your Cub packs, just get those sheets in your parents' hand and try to get 100% to go to day camp.
Yeah, we really
And the
found
Weeblos camp,
that
so.
when we launched this last year pretty wide, there were a lot of popcorn kernels that said, well, I don't think any of our scouts need the camperships, and they wouldn't want to participate in this. We found scouts from every kind of troop, pack, and crew in the council that had scouts saying, oh, well, you know what, I'd want to do that. Even if it wasn't from a financial need, it was from well, that's easy, I could go do that, and I could sell some popcorn and go to camp for my whole fee paid. And I think to Mark's point, there's a value in giving our scouts an opportunity to earn their own way to do something 100%.
Yeah, it's part of the motto, and I'll tell you that camp option, there isn't much left there other than some administrative and copies. The kids are getting almost the whole thing, which doesn't happen necessarily on the fall sale at close to 60%. There's not much left but paying for the product and a little bit, so they're really making out on that camp thing, getting their way to camp.
And this is just for your reference on where this all came from. Our council was seeing an incremental ask from families for campership dollars. When I started at camp years and years and years ago, we were getting asks and we were able to grant $7,000 to $8,000 worth of camperships, and that was the late 90s. 2 years ago, we granted $26,000 in special assistant camperships, and that still wasn't meeting all the asks. And our campership model was based on a 50% max payment.
Yeah,
So we were getting $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 worth of asks from families, and we started having to do less and less for each family. When a family would ask for half a Boy Scout fee of $100, we could only do $40, $50. And so then the family didn't have to come up with the other 100, they had to come up with 150, 160. And as the pool of money gets smaller, then, obviously this is the opportunity. Our popcorn team looked at us and says, you know what, let's forget this half fee and forget this partial weight. Let's figure out a model and a plan to where we can make sure that there's 100% camp payment. There's no financial limitation to any scout into getting into one of our summer camp programs, because it is important to the scout's year. That's where this whole thing was born out of. And we learned very quickly that a lot of those scouts who were asking for 50%, they were really needing 100% of that camp fee to be paid. What we also learned, but didn't expect, is that scouts who normally would never ask for a campership, who the family had the means to pay for camp, just lock, stock, and barrel, came out of the woodwork and said, 22 boxes? Oh, we'll do that. I mean, that's just silly not to. That's a couple hours on Saturday and a couple hours, after the scout meeting at church or whatever, and boom, we're going to camp, 100% paid for. And then all the money our scout earned in the fall sale, that stays right in his account at the troop or whatever, or wherever, and he can use that for activities and for high adventures and other things. That's great. That meets kind of the intent and spirit of where we're going here. So we hope it is turnkey. We hope it is as simple as it is laid out here. Just a little quiz here. What are the two things you need to bring when you pick up your popcorn to get it? Let me see the first hand right there. First hand.
Campers should have and the post-dated check.
All right, that is absolutely right. There's a gift card for you.
Thank you.
All right, questions? I saw one here.
Yeah, I had a scout over the weekend, just telling him about the program, and he thought it was just great. He says, well, can I sell some extra boxes and use that towards the uniform? I think you kind of answered that. The answer is no.
Let's just take those kind of little offline requests and keep those separate from the forms and the sale here. And if you have a scout opportunity like that, I'd like you to just email Mark and say, hey, this scout's looking for an extra couple boxes. Chances are through our warehouse in Traverse City or also in Grand Rapids, we can shift around extra product as needed to help those scouts do stuff like that.
Okay.
Shouldn't be a problem.
And I'm not sure in my pack I'm even going to get popcorn ahead. I mean, I may if some of them really commit and want to do it, but for the Cub Scouts, they just got to go around and get 5 people to buy, whether it's grandpa and grandma and uncle and aunt, or they go in front of, they go to 2 neighbors or whatever. So I'm going to have them just take the sheets and then try to, we'll get some in. I'm not going to get none because we'll probably go up in front of Northland and Kingsley or something. But these forms are going to be you'll be able to print. I can print them in color here, but you're going to want maybe one for each boy you think might want to do it. I may not have enough there. I can run more. So the take orders is one way to do it, but if you're going to get product in, Aaron has to know by next week in the system.
In the system, yeah.
So.
Questions? I saw one here. Yes.
I thought you said you could sell extra, but if you're gonna put it towards the future camp, what that is?
Show and tell by the 27th, is that correct?
Sorry, say that one right again on the phone, please.
Do you have to have the order placed by the 27th? Was that your question?
Essentially, we have to have a commitment for we're selling X amount of boxes for this number of kids by the 27th.
If you want the product ahead of time, if you don't want the product ahead, you can wait till the March date, or is it April?
April.
April date,